Hello everyone, back to today's second video. Going to have a look at weather for next week to 10 days for today's second video. This will take us to around the 26th of November. We'll be able to go out a little bit beyond that with the extended GFS, which now does get into the very beginning of December. So we've got colder weather on the way. It's very grey and gloomy today. We're under a moist sort of air mass. It produces a lot of low cloud and murk. Over the weekend, we're going to turn the wind into a southeasterly. It's going to bring drier air in from off the continent, so we'll get rid of all this cloud and gloom over the weekend. We'll replace it with sunshine, but at the same time temperatures will start to drop away. We'll fall back to average temperature levels this weekend, and then as we get through to early next week, we're going to bring in a proper cold easterly wind. Now bear in mind this is still November, so we're not talking about a big freeze at the moment. We're not talking about beast from the east conditions yet. If this blocking keeps going to the end of November into December, then we might be able to talk about a big freeze at that point. At the moment, we're just saying colder with those easterly winds and the chance of some winteriness, so some sleet, some snow might be in there through the course of next week in some places, but no more than that at this stage. You've got to play it safe and just see how this develops. As I say, if a blocking signal carries on for 2 or 3 weeks, then we might eventually find ourselves in a big freeze type pattern, but not yet. So let's just keep things, keep our feet on the ground with this for the time being. But it is a big change compared to what we've had, particularly for this November, which has been really mild through the first part of the month. So I'll go with that for you very shortly, just to say that today's first video update was JMA Friday, so as always on Friday doing our month-ahead look ahead, takes us into the middle of December. It's a pretty cold update actually, this one. There is the suggestion we might have it's a little bit milder and more unsettled by the middle of December, but between now and then, quite a lot of cold weather to come if the JMA and CFS B2 long-range models are correct. So have a look at that. It's here on the homepage. Have a look at that video. You'll find it just above the snow desk. And this evening we've got your 6th Christmas update coming up. They're getting more regular now for Christmas updates, so the 6th one will be with you on the Christmas updates page this evening. Between now and then, we are doing our week to 10 day video update. So I just got to say thank you to our latest PayPal donor before I do anything else. So a big thank you to Philip O'Malley for giving us another donation. Very generous and very kind of Philip to do that. This is the GavsWeatherVids.me PayPal page, so you just come here and you just sign into your PayPal account, and you can give a one-off donation to GavsWeatherVids via PayPal. And again, a big thank you to all of the PayPal donors, including Philip O'Malley, for donating to us via PayPal. It is something very, very kind, very special that you are doing for the website. So big thank you for doing that. Also going to give a shout out and say thank you to our latest patron. So I said yesterday we were aiming for 40 patrons before Christmas. We've got there already. So big thank you to our 40th patron, Mark Wilson. Big thank you to Mark for becoming GavsWeatherVids' 40th patron. We'll be able to get to 50 patrons before Christmas. That's going to be interesting to see. But a big thank you to Mark for becoming our 40th patron. Big thank you to all of the patrons for GavsWeatherVids. If you'd like to become a patron for GavsWeatherVids, then all you have to do is come to the GavsWeatherVids Patreon page. This is it. And we link to this at all pages at GavsWeatherVids, as well as our PayPal page. We link to this at all of the pages at GavsWeatherVids and in the description at YouTube. So again, you just come here and all you have to do is sign up for a Patreon account. I assume most people won't have one of those. So you sign up for a Patreon account and then you can pledge an ongoing monthly donation for as little as $1 a month. By doing that, you become a patron for GavsWeatherVids. So you'll get a mention in the video, videos, whether you do it through PayPal or through Patreon. Unless you would rather stay anonymous, that's absolutely fine. If you would, just leave a little note telling us that you don't want to mention. But otherwise, you just come to the Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, and become a patron. And it's great. Thanks so much for everybody for doing that. Thanks to all the donors. Thanks to all the patrons. You're helping to pay the website and keep the content totally free of charge. And just really something very special that you're all doing for GavsWeatherVids. So thanks so much for doing that. Right, we'll get on with the video then. I'm going to have a look at the centering temperature. I haven't looked at this for a few days. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's been a very, very warm November so far. So we're now halfway through the month, provisional up to the 15th of November. We're standing at 9.9 degrees, an anomaly of nearly 2.5 degrees above average. Very, very mild, warm even. First half to November. We are only just a little bit under October's centering temperature at 10.6, and bear in mind we're in a rapidly cooling time of the year. At this point of the year, it should be rapidly cooling down, so quite unusual to be seeing the centering temperature that high. It's about as high as it's going to get. It might just tick up to 10.0. We'll see tomorrow if it does. That's going to be as high as it gets though. Either 9.9 or 10.0, and after that I think it's downhill all the way, so we might get a bit of a crash going actually here. It's going to be quite entertaining to keep an eye on this over the next couple of weeks and see just how quickly it descends from this really high level and where we finish up. I think we're a little bit too high to get a colder than average month unless we pull off some very cold nights and sort of sub-zero maxima, which isn't impossible in the weather pattern we've got coming up, but it would probably require a lot of freezing fog to do that, to have daytime maxima around freezing and hard or even severe overnight frost. If we did have a run of those type of conditions, we could probably get still a colder than average month, but I think mainly we're aiming here from where we are right now for another average month. So we see that September came out at 13.7, just 0.1 of a degree above average. October came out at 10.6, bang on average, 0.0. So that's going to be the kind of anomaly that we're looking at, I think. Somewhere close to average. Could be a little bit above, might be a little bit below, but I don't think it'll be a great deviation. It will be within half a degree, either above or below average, I would have thought. And so we're likely, therefore, to have another average month. And that will mean that the autumn, of course, also comes out very, very average indeed. Anyway, that's all to be revealed. And we'll be keeping a very close eye on this over the next couple of weeks to see whether we do get one of those entertaining sort of crashes. GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles looking like this. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Edinburgh. We're looking at Edinburgh up in Scotland today. So we're starting off a lot milder than average, warm even, with the upper air temperature up to 10 degrees at 850 HPA. It's pretty much downhill all the way from here on though. So as we go through the weekend and into next week, there's that big slide in the temperature becoming cold through the course of next week, going below the 30-year average. And then interestingly, it just looks like we keep things pretty cold right way through to the end of November. He dates on the bottom of the chart, so 1st of December is appearing just here. And the overall trend definitely within the GFS ensemble is to keep things cold and average. The ensemble mean is a white line that's taking each individual ensemble member together and grouping them together, creating a mean line. And, well, that's under average, it's under the red line. So it's going to be staying cold, by the look of this anyway, it's going to be staying cold through to the end of November, possibly even into the start of December. So a real month of two halves, you have to say. The first half very mild, the second half quite cold. Temperature anomalies are cooling off all the time. So this is the temperature anomaly now for the 16th to the 24th of November. Generally, most parts of the UK close to or possibly a little bit below average down in the south. Much of the continent also forecast to have below average temperatures. France, Low Countries, Germany, Poland, below average temperatures there. It's still going to be warmer than average up across Scandinavia. Particularly up towards the Arctic Circle. That's indicative of the Scandinavian high, of course. It's going to be sitting up there in the week ahead, bringing the cold air out of Scandinavia and northern Russia down into Europe. So with high pressure up there, it's going to be a bit warmer than average, but most other parts of Europe seeing quite a rapid cool down in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies look very dry still for the UK and for Ireland. Notice these eastern parts of the UK are closer to average with their precipitation. That's picking up on showers being brought in from off the North Sea with those easterly winds. Now, whether that's rain showers, whether it's wintry showers or possibly snow showers, we'll have to wait and see until closer to the time frame. But I think there will be some wintriness around next week. It's most likely, I would have thought, over high ground, but don't rule it out at lower levels. But I suspect we'll be starting up Snow Watch in the next few days anyway. We'll be able to have a more in-depth look at the snow risks for next week. Probably something like Monday, I would have thought. Right, so this is how the GFS is looking, latest GFS run, 6 o'clock run. This is how it's looking for Monday. And there's a high pressure. It's in over Scandinavia. It's up to 1,040 millibars, so it's a big Scandinavian high. And it's bringing in these easterly winds, and those winds are originating from the west of Russia. So obviously cold air is flooding south and west across Europe. We go through into Tuesday, and those easterly winds continue. The high pressure is between Greenland and Scandinavia, so high pressure across Scandinavia, it stretches through the Norwegian Sea, and it does move over towards Greenland as well. Low pressure forming around the southeast of Europe, and the squeeze between the two continues to bring in those easterly winds into the UK. So it becomes colder with these easterly winds through the course of next week. That's Thursday, and then that takes us through to Friday. Still looking very, very blocked. That's a large blocking feature over Iceland by this point, 1,047 millibars. Gradually, it is retrogressing. Gradually, it is moving from east to west, heading from Scandinavia in towards Greenland. Still looking quite cold through to the end of next week. In the more extended range, heading up towards day 10, we keep things looking cold as well. Notice it's becoming much colder over Scandinavia and northern Europe as well, as this high pressure does retrogress towards Iceland and Greenland. It allows this trough to drop south out of the Arctic into Scandinavia and western Russia. So that is very cold air digging into the northeast Europe. So as I said, we're not talking about a big freeze for the coming week. It's just going to be colder, and there is some wintry potential. But by the time we get through towards day 10, we have got really quite severely cold air that's lurking here up to the northeast of us. And so if this blocking pattern was to continue into a second week, into the last 5 days of November and then into early December, if the blocking pattern was to continue, and if we was to start to bring this very cold air that's dropping into Scandinavia and northeast Europe, if we start to bring that into central and then western parts of Europe, then we could be talking about a big freeze. So not talking about a big freeze yet, but if this blocking persists, that could be where things are going to go by the end of the month. This takes us through to Monday, the 26th of November, which is day 10. Again, still got quite an extensive blocking pattern here to the north of the country. Still with this trough up to the northeast as well. Very, very cold air sitting up to the northeast. And we go a little bit beyond that into more extended range. And we're keeping things really quite blocked here. Now, eventually, look what's happening by the time you get to 300 hours away. This is a really long way out. It's Wednesday, the 28th of November. But we are beginning to tap in to that very, very cold air that's sitting up to the northeast. So this is now starting to talk about big freeze type conditions heading our way out of Scandinavia and western parts of Russia as we keep this large, massive blocking feature here up over Greenland and Iceland too. There's the upper air temperatures, and that's what I'm talking about. Really cold air sitting up to the north and northeast. So it's been minus 10 isotherm. When we have the minus 10 isotherm through the UK, temperatures will struggle to get much above freezing. Behind that, the air is even colder, and if you follow the isobars back and see where the air is coming from, it is coming from this very extensive cold pool. So that's the threat of a big freeze by the end of November. Not in the immediate future, but something to keep an eye on. A little bit beyond that, up to Friday the 30th of November, still remaining very cold indeed. That's as far as we can go with the GFS run, which is Sunday the 2nd of December. And quite an interesting chart then, because we've still got all of this cold air sitting to our east and northeast and also over the UK. We've got this deep area of low pressure developing in the Atlantic that's trying to bring milder air up. So it could be that if we was to run on any further from this, that we would be heading for a battle between the mild air trying to get in from off the Atlantic and the huge block of cold air that's sitting over to the east of the UK. And of course, battle type situations will produce substantial snow. So watch out early December if that comes off. We're talking about heavy snow, possibly followed by a thaw, of course, as the Atlantic air finally breaks through. This is how the parallel run of the GFS is looking. So that's the operational GFS run, the main GFS run. This is the parallel run. This will become the operational GFS next year. We always upgrade the model and give it a makeover and run it at a slightly higher resolution. So at the moment this is running in parallel with the operational run. Next year this will become the main operational GFS run. Let's just see what this one wants to do. So cold through next week, nothing particularly severe. Again, we're not talking about big freeze weather, just a lot colder than we've had. Frost definitely by night, and some wintry potential if there's precipitation. Up to day 10, we're keeping things very blocked. Again, similar to the main operational run for GFS, here's all this really cold air pushing down into northern parts of Europe via that trough. We remain close to this ridge over Iceland, so really blocked conditions continuing. And in the extended range, we keep things pretty cold. Possibly don't get a direct hit from that very cold air sitting up to our northeast within the time frame of this GFS run. But look at that, we've got to the end of the run, which is Sunday the 2nd of December, and we are firmly locked in to a very cold spell where there's still no quick way out beyond that. So if we was to be able to run this on beyond this, which we can't, but if we could, we would find that at least another 5 days would be cold, because we've still got this blocking across Greenland and through the Atlantic. We've got this trough over to the east of the country with all this very cold air associated with it. So again, there's no quick way out of that. That's locked in to cold weather for probably another week beyond that. ECM looks like this. Now, ECMWF hasn't been as cold as the GFS generally over the most recent runs. So we do introduce this easterly wind as we go through next week, and again, it's going to bring substantially colder weather than we've had. It's going to bring the risk of wintry showers, particularly to eastern parts of the country. But we don't just quite get the same level of blocking with the ECMWF. So this is where we are in a week's time. There is still a major blocking feature sitting up to our north, but we've got this low pressure down to the south. And so the wind is kind of like southeasterly, and it just isn't quite as cold as the GFS is showing up that similar time frame. We get up towards day 10, and that's how we look. So high pressure is still blocking. Again, it's not to the same level of blocking as we have with the GFS. The high pressure is there over Scandinavia. It does ridge through the Norwegian Sea up towards Greenland, but it's not to the same extent. And so because of that, we do still have the cold air pooling around the back of it across the northeastern parts of Europe and into western Russia, but just doesn't look quite as severe in terms of setting up a really block pattern. Doesn't look as extreme setting up a block pattern as compared to the GFS. However, the ECMWF ensembles are still pretty cold, so this is for De Bilt in Holland, just over the other side of the North Sea. We've got the temperatures along the side, so that's 10 degrees there, that's 5 degrees, that's 0 degrees, and that's -5 down there, -10 is down there. We're starting off at this level, so we're starting off pretty mild, but over the weekend into the start of next week, we see the temperature dropping. It's falling away to be between 0 and 5 degrees maximums. And then we keep things really quite cold, so just between 0 degrees and 5 degrees again as we go into the more extended range. There are some really cold ensemble members within there. A few are going quite mild by the very end of the run. But overall, the ECMWF ensembles do look cold. Interestingly, the operational ECM, which we're just looking at, which doesn't have a very intense level of blocking, but nevertheless it is a pretty cold run actually, with temperatures again somewhere between 0 and 5 degrees, quite regular. And this is from the Icelandic Met Office. So what this is showing is all the options that are within the ECMWF ensembles. So this is for day 10. And we can see that we've got 26 or 51.0% of ECMWF ensemble members that are, let's try and get the right page. So we'll go back up to there. So there we go, we're up to day 10. So we've got 51%, 26 ensemble members that have this very extensive blocking just to our north and northwest, with high pressure up there, and that will be bringing the wind in from an east to northeasterly direction. Much stronger blocking than we see on the operational run of the ECMWF, what we were looking at a couple of minutes ago, by the way. And then we've got 25%, we've got 25, which is 49.0% of ECMWF ensemble members that have the blocking kind of like stretched from Scandinavia through to Greenland. So on either scenario, we look cold there, look quite a bit colder than you would be expecting from the ECMWF ECMWF operational run. Actually, they both have a much higher level of blocking, I think. Both options within the ECM ensembles have a much higher level of blocking compared to that ECMWF operational run. So synoptically, the ECMWF operation at day 10 was an outlier, and the blocking generally within the ECMWF ensembles is favoured to be a lot stronger, meaning could be quite a bit colder than that ECMWF operational run was showing. We can only go to day 10 with the operational ECMWF, but we can actually go to 360 hours with the ECMWF ensembles. So this takes us to around 2 weeks away. And these are the various options that are on the table by 2 weeks' time. So we've got 24 ensemble members, 47.1, that still have quite a high level of blocking, actually, round Scandinavia, towards Iceland as well. Low pressures down to the southwest. So that's kind of like a battle going on there, with low pressure in the Atlantic trying to introduce those milder winds from the southwest, but also we have got quite a high level of blocking. Then we've got 17 ensemble members, 33.3%, that in 2 weeks' time have a very strong level of blocking through the Atlantic and going up towards Greenland. They're the coldest options, I would have thought, with this deep trough to the south. We're still bringing in cold east winds. That's cold and snowy type conditions there with those 17 ensemble members as we go towards 2 weeks away. And then we do have a minority option, which is 10 ensemble members, 19.6, that want to turn things milder. These ones are raising heights to the south, bringing low pressure in from the Atlantic, and obviously that starts to move in a much milder west to southwesterly wind off the Atlantic, with the blocking going over towards the Canadian side of the Atlantic. So even up to 2 weeks away, the ECMWF between these two options, that's option 1, that's option 2, between those two, generally the ECMWF ensembles are still quite strongly favouring cold conditions. Even 2 weeks away, there is a minority option in 2 weeks to turn things quite a bit milder, but of course you will always get that within the model output. They'll always want to start to bring Atlantic winds back in, because after all that is our default setup. So it's interesting that even in 2 weeks' time, ECMWF ensembles are still really quite keen to keep things blocked and cold. We'll worry about the weather for the start of December when we get to it. So in the next week, 10 days, we're going to turn things colder. It's mild and gloomy at the moment. It's going to brighten up over the weekend. The sun will return. But as it does so, cooler air will move in from off the continent. Next week, we're going to turn things cold. It is going to be a cold week next week. Daytime temperatures are going to be below average. Nighttime temperatures will be frosty, and we could well have some wintry showers as well at times. Detail on all of that is to be determined. As we look out into the final sort of week to 5 days of November, it looks like we're keeping quite a strong level of blocking going. The difference is that we will be dropping very cold air, by the look of it, into northern Europe. And if this blocking continues to the end of the month, then we could start to bring that very cold air into our part of the continent, into our part of Europe, the North Atlantic. If we do, then things will get increasingly cold and wintry, maybe even a little bit severe by the end of the month and the beginning of December. But it's a very long way off, and we'll just have to keep monitoring and see how this progresses. Right, so that's your week to 10-day video update done and dusted, along with JMA Friday. Come back this evening when we'll have a look at Christmas. Going to do a sick Christmas update over the weekend. Going to be loads of updates. Weekend forecast is coming up tomorrow. We've also got CFS 6 month look ahead tomorrow as well. Sunday, so going to be a really busy day on Sunday. I'm going to do a live chat with Quantum between 5 and 7, where we'll be talking all about the cold weather and the snow. But also on Sunday, we'll have your 12th and penultimate Winter 2018-19 update. And on Sunday, we'll have a look at the ECMWF and Meteo France long-range models for this month. And there'll probably be a Christmas update if I can fit it in, but where I'll be able to, I'm not sure, because it's going to be a very, very busy day on Sunday. All right, so at 25 minutes, that's all for now. Come back this evening for your sick Christmas update. Thanks for watching.